Good morning, fellow indie authors. Today we're going to take a look at the very powerful writing element of nostalgia. We're going to discuss how you can use this powerful tool to open doors and tap into a lot of emotions that connect with your readers. If that sounds good, stick around as we discuss writing with nostalgia. When you're sitting down and you're thinking about writing the story, what are the elements of that story? What are the settings? I like to think about writing the story as I would a movie being produced. You have these different scenes and you have these different backgrounds and characters and events going on. Well, nostalgia allows us to tap into feelings that we all have and we all sometimes long for. Those are feelings of comfort, joy, maybe even warmth. And they're things that we can remember, but we know they're in the past and we can't really live them again. Those are very powerful emotions and they can create curiosity in your reader's mind. And that to us as indie writers is very important. When we use nostalgia, we can create this setting of very mixed emotions. The emotions may be that joy and that warmth we talked about, but it also could create very mixed emotions. Maybe a sense of melancholy about time that has passed and you can't get back. Okay, now I'm going to put up 4 photographs. Take a good look at them. Think about what comes to your mind. What emotions do you have when you look at these photographs? Well, I think the emotions you feel might be very different than those I have when I look at those old photos. That's my hometown. That's a part of my life. That old courthouse has been a part of my growing up in this town. I especially like the fact that they hung Christmas lights from the Lady of Justice standing on top of the building. I've walked up and down those sidewalks hours and hours. Back in the older days, and again today since we relocated back home. I look at that old movie theater down on the corner in that photo. It is a place that my friends, cousins, we were dropped off on a Saturday morning to watch cartoons and movies, maybe having 50 cents in our pocket to spend an entire day. Safe, fun, just an incredible warm feeling. And the emotions I get when I walk into that building today, as our committee is trying to restore that building and rehabilitate it, they're overwhelming. They're incredibly intense and deep emotions. That's what I'm trying to relay here. Your emotions could be completely opposite of mine. There are different things that trigger the positive or those very melancholy emotions. Yours would be different more than likely, but they may have some similarity to the feelings I have. All this means is you can have settings, places, and events that you are incredibly familiar with, that you feel very strongly about. And you can attempt, and I believe you can, write some of that environmental emotion into a story by using things from your past. In my first book, A Backwards Glance, it's a collection of stories. Obviously, the title, A Backwards Glance, it talks about things in the past I grew up with. It is a totally nostalgic book as it takes us back to my early life and things and times and events and people I shared as I grew up. If you look at the Who Killed Glenna, which is the first book in a 3-book series along with Kill 'Em All, everything in that book from the view of settings and characters are built off nostalgic feelings that I have with and from people I grew up with, went to school with, played ball with here in my hometown. If you look at the 4th book, If I Could Turn Back Time, it's a story about a character who was very dissatisfied with his life. He wanted to go back. He remembered the warm, nostalgic feelings he had before his trouble set in. And in the plot of the book, through a very quirky circumstance, in his mind at least, he is able to go back and spend time and expand those memories. And the twist in the plot is some lessons he learned from that adventure. This is a perfect example of how you can take existing elements of nostalgia, add them into your story or your character to make your plot tighten up, or to make your plot go in a different direction and circle it back to the line you had laid out for it. Those things can be made possible by writing very strong nostalgic feelings. If you remember in the beginning of our video, we talked about how most people really want to have these feelings, and they do have them. They are incredibly strong and typically good. As a contrast, there are people who can't get past very difficult times when they look at nostalgic settings. Maybe there was an event that was really traumatic to them and they're stuck there. They keep going back to it over and over. That would be the negative part of a backwards look on nostalgia or an event that happened. Those two factions, the very positive and that traumatic or melancholy feeling, it's a vehicle that you can use to write better. Okay, let me give you a couple of other photos to think about and just take your mind back to what they say to you when you look at them. More than likely, again, those photos don't evoke the same memories or emotions to you as they do to me, but they can be very powerful. To me, the setting of my Little League field, the setting of the high school field that I only played junior high ball on, is very strong because I remember one key event, or actually two key events. I was able to go there as a very small child and watch my older sister perform on that field as a majorette. My sister Tony twirled the flaming baton on that field. The image of her in her uniform doing that is just branded into my mind. And it's an incredibly powerful and great feeling I have toward her. The other thing is that field also was the site of my only participation on the varsity team. I think three of us were brought up as ninth graders to play in the homecoming game, obviously a weaker opponent. And as the game got out of hand, our coach put us three young guys in. It's an overwhelming memory to me. I can almost feel the moisture in the air. I can almost smell everything about that night, the sounds and the awkward feeling I had being under those lights and the fog kind of drifting in on that cooler Friday night. It's a setting that sticks in my mind very clearly. Something that also sticks in my mind is almost getting killed in the one series I was in during that game. And the varsity players who really helped me, they picked me up, they made sure I was okay, they told me what to do, and they said, don't stay down. Coach Barker will never let you in another game if you get hurt. Now that probably wasn't true, but it was a motivating thing they dropped on me and tried to inspire me and motivate me to play and continue through the extreme discomfort I felt. Those are emotions that are real. Another photo you saw there was of my high school where I played football, where my friends that I have grown up with from kindergarten to our senior year of high school, and we're still friends today. The benefit of growing up in a rural, smaller town. But it doesn't have to be just a rural, smaller town to have these deep-set, connected emotions. My wife grew up outside New York, outside of Manhattan. And she tells me stories of how it felt as a young child driving into the city and seeing that gigantic place with the absolute manic activities that went on. I can't even imagine that as a child. I think I went to New York the first time when I was maybe 25 years old, and it was overwhelming. My entire sensory system was overwhelmed at the size and the space and all the things that were going on when I first saw it. Those things are the emotional connections, the emotional feelings that you need to transfer in some sense into your writing. They can make a character come alive. They can paint a picture of a place or a time that your readers can feel. They can sense it. And as I said, almost put themselves in it with all those sights and sounds and smells, even the humidity or the temperature. Those are powerful writing tools that nostalgia opens the door to. We can use them in our writing to make everything about our characters and our plot expand, become more passionate, and much more involving with our readers. I want to give you one final example, a personal example about the effect of nostalgia on me. I still own my grandfather's 1966 Chevy pickup. In November, it'll be 60 years old. I remember riding with him the day he bought it. Every time I look at that truck, I basically can see my grandfather, my very loving, kind grandfather. I can see his face. I can hear his voice. He sold that truck to my father, and my father passed away, and my mother gave the truck to me, and I've had it ever since. When I get into that truck and I start the engine, the very sounds that truck makes as it starts up gives me overwhelming, powerful emotions. Why? Because I spent an awful lot of time in that old pickup truck with my dad. It was the only real private time he and I had together. Otherwise, he was busy working or gardening or taking care of things. But in that truck, we would be out hunting or we'd be out with our dogs, letting them exercise. And we would spend hours riding around in that truck together. Most of the time, those memories were very positive. There are some that weren't totally positive. I did make a few mistakes along the way in that truck with him. But those emotions I can recall, and they are very powerful into me. They touch me in a very strange and unique emotional way. Every time I need some sort of passionate or connected emotion in a character, things like that old truck and how it relates me to my dad or my grandfather or the places we were in, it gives me the fuel, I think, to write much better, to write deeper. And when you can do that, your story is just naturally going to be better. I truly hope this conversation about writing with nostalgia has been beneficial. I can tell you it is the most valuable tool, I think, other than just my very disciplined mind about writing, that I use in all of my books. The very simple thoughts of nostalgic events powers much of my writing. Now, I've said this to you, I've written 7 books, but these 4, one altered memoir, a collection of stories, and 3 novels, are all based on nostalgic events, nostalgic feelings, and my connections to the people, places, and times that they're involved with. It is an overwhelming, powerful tool for me. Give it some thought. See if you can use the power of nostalgia in your writing to create better emotions and write better. So until we get together again, I hope you guys have a great week. Please go out, have some fun with your friends and family. It'll be the best thing you do all week long. But until next week, take care of yourselves, and we will see you again soon. Bye-bye.